I'd like to see that.
Good. Welcome to the May 18th meeting of the Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is the draft agenda. Are there any amendments that anyone would like to make?
I have an amendment to make, please.
Okay.
So I spoke to some people during the Earth Day event about budgeting or sponsorships, those kind of things. And I contacted them. I checked with John. He said I could contact, and the town said I could contact them, right? So I contacted 4, and 2 of them have replied with support. So I'd like to discuss maybe a list of projects we can discuss with funding from outside sources.
So you'll put that E under new business, John or Rick or somebody, sponsorship.
Yeah.
Gosh, it seems like the Earth Day was like 3 months ago for me.
Well, yeah, it does to all of us. But so we'll add item 6E for sponsorships.
Or projects for the projects.
Sponsorship project.
Yeah, sponsorship projects. And right now I'm not sure if sponsorship's the right word, but
Well, we'll clear that up when we talk about it.
okay.
Are there any other amendments?
I'll move acceptance or approval.
Well, I have,
I'm sorry.
I don't know if these are amendments or where they should be discussed. Or we can do it right now. We have 2 new members, 2 open positions on the ERC Council. And we expect that the interviews will be done and the appointments will be made at the June meeting.
Cool.
So
Should that go under old business? It's like an update on the
Yeah.
open positions.
Well, he just told us.
what do you think, Chad?
I mean, what more do you have to say on that one?
Let's let it
I
ride.
just wanted people to know about it. It's just a discussion item. It's not really a matter of business.
You could probably move it to, if it's just brief, I would move it to new business A and move everything else down. Or
It might, like they do at the council meetings, it might be good to add a line after the draft agenda to have a line for just discussion. It's not really a matter of business.
We've already discussed this. I don't know that we need to make another agenda item. I would let you
I would say this, add it to, if you want to, I can touch base on that. If you want to add a line item 7 and move 7 to 8 and 8 to 9, and that's staff comments for ERC. We can kind of go over it then.
Okay, well, I wanted everybody to know that next month we will probably see 2 new members.
Cool. All right.
Also, several of us went through the rain garden program that was done by the Cooperative Extension. I just wanted to make a couple comments about that. I think Rich and I will get the certification, and next month, after we get the new members, we ought to discuss the organization of subcommittees. So you can start thinking about what subcommittee activities you'd like to be part of.
Along those lines, John, it might be good to keep in mind some sort of discussion / presentation to the new members on kind of what we do. I mean, not in painful detail, but what we've done, what we're trying to do kind of thing, a little bit.
Yeah, I think a discussion on that would be
Yeah.
necessary
Yeah.
for them to have any idea what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that's all about the agenda. So Don,
I move we approve it as amended.
is there a second?
I second.
I agree.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next item, public comments on agenda items. We have no public presence. The next item is the meeting minutes of March 16th. Amendment and approval. Are there any amendments to the minutes that Candace prepared in her final act as secretary?
Your last hurrah.
If there's no comments or amendments, do I have a motion to adopt the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes as written.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let me sign these. Yeah, Candace can sign those and just give it to Chad, please.
We'll give her a gold watch.
Give her a gold star.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, Candace.
Big one, a big
You're
one.
more than welcome.
Next item is old business. I don't know that we have any old business. After that is new business. And the first item there is the Earth Day, Arbor Day event conversation. Ed, you want to start that off?
Sure. Good morning. Thank you, Chairman. Just want to open up the conversation. I wanted to kind of address y'all this morning with how great I thought the event was. As much stress as I had going into that event of preparing the best and expecting the worst, especially when, we gave ourselves a month and a half to prepare for this. And the fact that it went on without a hitch, didn't have any problems. I didn't have any stress that day. I didn't have people running to me, trying to figure things out. I want to commend y'all for doing a great job in pulling that together.
Well, I've got to say, Chad, in many ways, you were the glue that held this whole thing together. The pamphlet in particular, I thought was good. And we give him a gold star, but I got a lot of warm fuzzies from it myself. Wasn't perfect, but it's good. And these two guys,
Typing.
Yeah.
they get the big gold star.
Typing. Sorry.
And certainly some things we can fix after we give it some thought, but I wouldn't fix it if it's not broke,
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to having 8 to 9 months to prepare for next year, if not a month and a half.
Well, sometimes you do your best work under pressure, though.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we have the brochure done, so we can easily print those off from now on. I did bring, so as we get in through this conversation into Sunset, I do have the budget that was approved, and we do have money left over. We'll get into that shortly. But overall, very pleased. The town is very pleased. I think the overall community was extremely pleased. I think it's a good thing. First annual's out of the way. Starting to move in this through the years. I think as we move forward, I think that the 8 months will give us a lot more time to further market this, further brand this, further get the word out, invite more people. This could start being something big. I'll go ahead and start putting a bug in your ear of probably as many 50 or nonprofits, 501(c)(3)s and all that as we can get the word out to this and invite them. I think that needs to start being a priority of filling vacancies. If we have to wrap the whole entire loop around the park, we can definitely make that happen. So we have the room to be able to do that. So, and looking at sponsorship opportunities, I know we're going to talk about that, and I will be gathering information to help y'all and see what that looks like and kind of go from there. if you would, we can do it today, or if you would email me your thoughts on a couple things. One, I think what things I thought we did very well. Two, things we could probably get better on. And three, couple ideas of moving this next year. I think having that to come back to this board with, along with our 2 additional members in the next few months, as how we start preparing for next year's event. I think that's a start. So, I mean, I don't know, John, do you want to say something then? Do you want to go down the line?
Oh, I have a lot to say. Before I do that, why don't we just go down and we'll let everybody, if you have something you'd like to discuss or share or comment on.
No, I thought it went really well. I had good feedback from the Master Gardener group. They appreciated that it was an educational event. That's something that they like to support. The little Girl Scouts that were there probably came by our table 3 times, so excited and telling us everything here is free.
That's pretty good.
So they liked that part. We got the thing that we need to figure a way to reach out to the community differently, because we were preaching to the choir. Not a bad thing.
No.
But for instance, when people stopped by and we were talking about recycling, almost everybody's already recycling, because they believe in this, and that's why they're at Earth Day. Not recycling perfectly, and I think they learned a lot, and it still says there's a lot we can do with education, but we need to figure out a way to bring in people who may not be so aware and need some encouragement to be green.
Okay. Don?
Well, she stole a lot of my thunder. That's okay. But one thing I wish I would have thought of earlier during the event is, how did you hear about this? I did talk to a couple that I knew from Charlotte. Said, "Oh, we saw it in the paper." That's always useful to know what works and what doesn't work as far as promotion, because you have to promote, and what worked, what didn't work. Some people said they saw the sign, but did they see it on Facebook, nextdoor.com, or whatever? I think that's very, very important to know, because if we don't want to be wasting our energy somewhere it's not, they don't see it, and vice versa. Maybe we need more publicity. So that's my only comment that to speak of, that Ms. Stephen mentioned everything else I had pretty much.
Okay. Rich?
You thought you had a lot to say. To address both of those, if I could answer those. We can't make people come in.
No,
right?
no.
But it is a great idea to reach out somehow to, I call them non-environmental people. I'm not sure how else to label them.
Yeah.
But if we have the choir in, maybe we can teach them a new song.
Right.
How's
Right.
that?
There you go.
How's that for an analogy? So, and I've said this from my first meeting here, it's not just about recycling. It's about quit buying plastic bottles, right? So if we could somehow say, there is a plastic-free, I'm on a soapbox now, there's a plastic-free July that we could promote next year. And it's not, you don't have to go completely plastic-free, because we can't. But it's consider what you are buying, what you're purchasing, why you're purchasing. But yeah, it would be great. I did do some research on Stephen mentioned this, to get a food truck there, and I think you had mentioned that also.
Right.
And a lady came up to me, her daughter does this in Baltimore, and she has a kid zone, they have food trucks, they have stuff everywhere, all this stuff. But Panacea out of Wilmington has a food truck, and they're about the most environmental. It's a food and drink truck, probably the most environmental. So that would be one way to get others, right?
Well, and Richard brought up a good thing. I had several people come up and ask, like, where's the, not just for food, but kind of like, where could they get a bottle of water or something?
Right.
And
I understand.
we don't want bottled water. We want.
I understand that, but the practicality is you have to find a way to.
So there's a water fountain there, and I suggested, I thought about funding plastic or water bottles, reusable bottles.
Yeah.
But I have 4 of those at home, because anytime you go to an event, you're getting another water bottle, and they are expensive.
Now there is a food. I'm sorry. There's a food truck stationary down on Beach Drive.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, they put out the plastic styrofoam clamshells.
Well, I think
But
there's
But we do need something.
if you want a way to reach out, it may be a way to reach out to those vendors, because I think Steve was mentioning that he found somebody that had all, was it recyclable or compostable or?
Plant-based cups, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure if they recycle plant-based cups here.
Chad, is there an ordinance problem with food trucks?
There is currently. There is currently.
How do they have them for other events?
So the rule is that if you were to host a party at your own house, treat it like a caterer. They come in, park in your driveway, park off, your right of way, and serve to those people. They're not serving out to outsiders coming in off the street. That's kind of allowed.
Just as a side note on that, I mean, and don't need to talk about it a lot now, but in several cities now in North Carolina, there's a law passed for the entertainment district, where you're allowed to walk with alcohol or other thing as long as it's branded. It's down to Sunset Beach. I'm just saying something maybe to think about for the future. It'd be cool to have that down in the area where you could just have food and stop walking around.
It's starting to come up more and more, not just in the town of Sunset Beach, but also a lot of other towns. This allowances for food trucks.
Yeah.
The problem is that we do have an ordinance that prohibits them to sell to the public, and that's where the hiccup is. This would be something to sell that would come in part and go to the public. It could be something that we have a year. I can see where we're at with this, and see what amending this would look like.
Can you get a special variance to do that? No.
But
How do they bring them in then? Like they the
Concerts.
farmers market they have.
Or at the concerts even.
Yeah.
I don't know if the concert does food trucks. I'll have to.
I think they're not.
They have pizza.
Let me
No,
ask.
pizza
They have a
guys.
donut truck out there, right?
Let me
Yeah.
ask and figure it out. I'll
Popcorn.
further look at it, and I'll even say this: you're an advisory board to the council. You can always, I can help y'all propose something to see what the council would, if they would be willing to take a look at this and sending it back down to staff and the planning board, because ultimately the planning board would need to look at a text amendment and then take it to.
Would it be easier to advise a variance or request a variance or just?
It would be easier to do a text amendment for this, because you're not going to get a variance granted just because of you want to work your way around the ordinance. It'd be easier to change it.
And Chad, I think a ordinance amendment could be tailored in such a way to be very specific to 3 or 4 type things, and not broadly written.
Yeah.
Speaking of food, I didn't think about bringing some food with me because, unfortunately, my wife called and said, "Hey, bring me stop at Hardee's or something." So it saved me from starvation.
Yeah. And then in our invitation to the vendors, we did tell them there was no food at the event.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all for food trucks. I mean, we go to food trucks, and we go to the food truck rally in Wilmington, right?
Yeah. The kid
But
zone
again,
is an excellent idea.
I'm sorry?
The kid zone is an excellent
Oh.
idea.
Yeah, it's expensive.
next
You can
year.
imagine. There's an insurance liability. It's a lot of money. Again, we did those we had the big giant tent, whatever, a 60-foot tent set up so everyone was inside. The kids had their little play areas. But this year, you saw how many kids showed up, right? I think there were maybe 2 or 3. But next year's event is on a Saturday. So, and I don't know if it's spring break or not. I don't know. I don't have a school schedule. But it would be great because you get the kids in.
Oh, yeah.
You get the parents in, and
Yeah.
you get the grandparents in. So,
Well,
yeah,
and
those are great
that
ideas.
comes with having time to promote the event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you could promote that was there, and I think you'd see more families.
Yeah, and I agree. We do need and I told Steve this is an environmental expo, basically, that we will get those people and the same people in. That's why Steve kept wanting to try maybe a natural art, so things you can purchase, like an artist, photographer. But I think if we can get bird feeders, bird houses, those kind of things that a local community group would want to do for a fundraiser. So I'll cancel my discussion for now. But yeah, that's for those two things. And I think our goal was, my goal, I'm sorry, not Steve, we went head to head on this a couple of times, was to make it an expo, basically, not a market. So you're not buying a whole lot you're not buying anything.
Well,
And it made the
Yeah,
Girl Scouts happy.
I think I went to that event they
well,
had.
the Girl Scouts didn't have any cookies. That's what I think disappointed me.
Oh, yeah, again.
They had that event in the park with the, it was about wine and strawberries, and it was so crowded with vendors. There was probably, it kind of lost the meaning. So
Yeah, like Chad
There
said,
should be some kind of middle ground so that you can.
yeah,
within the next 11 months, we'll find it.
Oops.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was a great first effort.
But the environmental issues, the litter, especially in the Wilmington area, Myrtle Beach not so much, but in the Wilmington area, college town, progressive town, they are much more aware of giving out straws, giving out plastic styrofoam stuff. Europe, right, all over Europe, you're not getting styrofoam. So I think we could probably find 2 or 3 food vendors who could set up. That would at least, I'm not sure what these options are. There's restaurants down in Folly Beach, and you go there and you take your own thing and to take your go away food, your own packaging, where they serve on metal plates and real silverware. So there's an awareness out there. It's just that if we continue empowering these food trucks with their styrofoam, we're not going anywhere. We're going back.
No, but you could have a vendor right next to a food truck, and the vendor selling the tableware that you can carry with you, or
that's
a
a
drink
great
cup
idea.
and you go fill it up there.
Yeah, good idea.
Is that it?
No, I got another one. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, you guys hit on most of the things I would say. My comment would be I started an event. I mentioned this before with the state of North Carolina IT directors, and it was first the tables set outside at the event where I handed out brochures to the IT guys, and then now it's this massive event where they fill an entire conference center with I'm just drawing an analogy here. So, no, I thought on a scale of 1 to 10, it was like a 9. I mean, we had no time to do this.
Yeah.
So we did a lot in a short period of time. Now, I agree with my personal thing would be it should be like an education event. And so but you can educate, and I do think we should have food. I do think we should have maybe some beer and then some art, but limit it to maybe a certain number of vendors, like 3 to 5 or whatever, so it's not overblown. Yeah. But I think our goal, in my opinion, should be to attract people that are not environmentally, the ones that don't care, and then get those individuals to buy recycled cans or rent the recycle can, learn about plastic, learn about the stuff. So if I think we get people that it's like a religious experience. When they leave, they go, I didn't really consider.
Feel the spirit.
Yeah, so like those brochures on rain barrels and things, I was looking through the brochure and I go, man, look how much rain we get off of our house. We don't even capture any of it. And it just goes into nowhere. So like if I had a rain barrel, how much water would I catch? So I think it's, you want to make it attractive enough to bring the people that think, well, I'm just curious, but at the same time, you're going to educate them when they leave. They go, wow, that was I learned something. So we don't turn into, Florida or some other place.
Okay.
So one last thing. Chad, is there an issue if we specifically invite only 3 art vendors? Do we have to open it to others?
I think we need to. I think we had I'll double check this. I think we had a council member kind of, we need to, now that we have enough time, we need to get the word out better. So we don't have any nonprofits or people coming to us potentially after next year in the midst of this and say, hey, why was I left off the list? Why was I not invited? That type thing. So that way, we need to start thinking that right now.
And we could post it somewhere, right on if that's what I was hoping was once the word got out there, the banner got out there, whatever.
I think you should do it as soon as you can.
People would contact us. Right?
Yeah.
You should do it as soon as you can, to me, to fill up all the spots. I don't know what that means. It might be 6 months in advance. Also, if somebody says they're not, I think you should charge someone a small fee. And the only reason I say that so there's some commitment on their part. I mean, I know it's okay to say, hey, just come, show up, but I had a couple people.
These are all nonprofits. So to ask people to volunteer their time. and
Well,
along with
you
their
know,
money.
I
If
mean,
they don't show up, they don't show up.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
me, it's like I feel like they should, if they say they're going to be here, they should be committed to showing up because it just makes it hard for. I mean, I know what you're saying. I agree with you, but at the same time, I think if somebody last second says I can't come because I forgot about it or something, I don't think that's.
Did you have that happen?
Yes,
A couple not show. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 or
They
4.
were for reasons, though, right? One
Yeah.
was a sickness, a
Mhm.
virus, right?
Yeah, I
So,
think
yeah, I
I
understand. We
all
can
the
make
ones that I had talked to had justifiable reasons
Okay. Well,
of that.
I
but
don't
I
think
will-
it's a big deal. But
I will
think
say
it's-
this on the fee part, it's probably going to have to be approved by council
Okay.
if
yeah.
we do fee. And I will say this, the taxpayers' dollars help go back to this. I think that's important to, give back to the community in that way as well. So,
Yeah.
it is, again, that's something, great thoughts, just something to think about on that thought.
And we get sponsorships possibly for we'll call it a sponsorship instead. I don't know.
John,
And
I did
again,
Yeah.
And
Okay,
again,
all right.
I will say this: I don't really want to call out the vendors who were not there.
No, right.
You had a couple staff. A lot of it had to really bore down to staffing issues.
stuff happens.
Well, and they didn't have much time to prepare either,
Yeah.
so
But
that
I
they
will
didn't
say
have
this,
backup
Right,
plans.
Yeah, in a month and a half, giving them more time, 8 to 9 months over the year to say, circle this on their calendar. Hey, we have this. Need to make room for it. That's definitely going to help the ones that had staffing issues and that had stuff come up that cannot be here. So,
Yeah.
Do we have any
I-
problems with booking the park for the day that we need?
no.
Well, we'll talk about that
Yeah.
in a minute.
It's
Do you have
on your
anything
list.
else, Steve?
No, you guys said all the other things I would have.
Okay.
brought up.
Let me just real quickly, John, before I forget it. I had a couple people come up to me. One, hey, could you come to our HOA meeting and talk about recycling? I said, yes. And the other one was a lady who says, I'm going to have some children this summer for several weeks, like 8 to 10 children of some kind of class thing. Could you do an age-appropriate thing on recycling? I said, sure, I can. I guess I can. So I had those two things happen. Have not heard. I gave my information. Have not heard back from either one of them. But it's,
One other thing I would mention, we just need to have a uniform. Like when people come, we should say, here's what our expectations are as far as what you're going to provide, so that we don't hand out tons of plastic paper. We should say you're allowed to bring these 4 things. And so, for example, I think he did a great job with the QR codes, and you could scan them with your phone and then get information about the, in CAM or whatever stuff. So, I mean, I think it's nice having some of those pamphlets were great to have, but then you don't want to hand out tons of paper and plastic and things during this event. So people just bring whatever they want to bring. We should give them a standard to follow.
we love the bags, by the way,
The bags are
Yeah.
fantastic.
and the
Yeah.
and the magnets.
Okay, so my turn.
Yes.
Go.
Thank you, all of you. It was I agree, it was a great event, and we couldn't have done it individually. Thank you to Chad and staff for their support, for not knowing what we were doing. It came off really well.
Well, we act like we knew what we were doing.
We had 15 veggie bags left over, and we had 49 grocery bags left.
Wow.
How many did we buy? Hundreds of them.
No, let me tell you.
Help me out there, Rich.
So there were produce bags. There were only 50.
Yeah. We
So
ordered.
I'm surprised we had any of those.
That's the mesh bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other bags looks like 80, around 200.
Okay, so we have 49 left,
Yep.
and they were very well received. People, they were thankful, and I said, "Your tax dollars are worth."
That's right. There you go.
There is a special event application that we have to file for next year. I've got the form. I haven't filed it yet. I don't know if it's something I should do or Chad has to do it or what, but
I mean, after today, if we make any decision, you just fill it out, submit it to me, and get it over to Cinda.
okay. There are some options, I think, for next year. Earth Day next year, as Rich said, is on Saturday, April 22nd.
What?
April 22nd,
Yes. Mhm.
Saturday. I think Saturday, doing it on Friday, I think worked really well. I think doing it on a Saturday adds a lot more complications to it because of the staff support
All right.
that we
I'm
get from
happy.
the town.
John, I will say this. Let me pause you right there. I don't have a problem with Saturday. It's the help we get the day of,
Right.
especially from our
From
public works department. Those guys here on a Saturday, that it would be more prep work done on that Friday. We don't know what would be in the park the day before. We would only be reserving for the day of. Again, I don't have a problem with the Saturday. I don't at all. I would just say, keep in mind, it's more than me. It's Public Works that I want to make sure that we're thinking of and don't drag them where they need to not be on the weekends.
next year, the Arbor Day celebrated nationally is on Friday, April 28th.
28th.
28th. That's very close to Earth Day. So if we wanted to have an Arbor Day lead on the event, pulling in Earth Day, that's a possibility. We also have North Carolina recognizes March 17th as Arbor Day. Now maybe the middle of March is a little early compared to the end of
I
April.
will say this, with March, you could get an 80-degree day, or you could get a 30-degree and snowing day.
You can get a big frost.
You could get a big, but yes. So again, going back to the Saturday conversation from a staff perspective, again, I don't think Saturday would be the biggest issue. But Sunday, if we ever did, is one that really would
Sunday would be a problem.
would be a problem.
And that'll be a problem for 2024.
Correct.
Well,
So I guess we have a couple of options there. Friday, April 28th or Saturday. We don't have to make a decision right now, but something to think about. But we do have to pick a date for the special event application to target the reserving the park.
And again, I think you've got, if you certainly make a decision now, you
Okay.
can certainly come back and do that, and if you needed time to think about that and come back.
And
Are there
so
any-
for Tree City USA? Does it help if we have it on Arbor Day on a Friday?
No,
Okay.
they just
as
want you
long
to.
as it's in the title.
They want you to throw an event once
Okay.
a year. So
Have we heard any more from them?
I haven't.
All right.
So
What are your thoughts? Is there any discussion about
I think if you want kids and families, you're better off on Saturday.
Yeah.
Parents are working.
yeah.
I can't see them taking the day off work to bring their kids over.
I've had parents say wouldn't skip soccer practice for their
Well,
kids.
now here's
to not
another
bring their kids over. But yeah, I agree with Saturday.
Here's another thought. If we had it on a Friday, a school day, could get the kids from Jesse, May, Monroe, possibly the field trip. Just a thought.
Unless it's
I
spring
will,
break.
I will
again.
say this because I also brought this up to John. Is this, if you do it on a Saturday, people like Elliot, Swain, Mickey, those people who showed up and donated their time, that gets them out of the office on a Friday. Might not get those vendors on a Saturday.
The county. Right.
So that's another thing to ponder.
Well, there's a lot more competition for kids' activities on a Saturday.
That's true.
Mhm.
There might be another event somewhere here in town too, or Ocean Isle, whatever.
Is there does anybody feel strongly about a Saturday or Friday? Or
I like Saturday. I mean, I know there's some challenges with it, but then you'll get more people show up on a Saturday.
We're all retired.
Friday,
so-
people
Saturday.
are traveling to and from. Saturday, people are coming in or be here. I mean, that's just my feeling Saturday, you get more people.
Well, and Sunset at Sunset is on a Saturday, and so there are some of these volunteer groups that are there. So apparently they're able to staff. I know Master Gardeners does a few events on Saturdays, and they go to Sunset at Sunset,
I think
which
most
is
of
on
the
a
people-
Saturday.
Would anyone care to make a motion that we select April 22nd, Saturday next year?
I make a motion, we accept Saturday, April 22nd as our 2023 Earth Day Arbor Day event.
Is there a second?
I second it, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay,
We'll be learning, just like this year was.
unanimously. Okay, so I will draft the special event application for April 22nd and send that. A couple things that came up to me, like Don, people came up to me and said, we do some education, the Old Bridge Society. They have some children's education. Could you come in and talk about the climate?
Mhm.
They were interested in climate with me and
Good.
recycling with you.
Good.
And I said, we'd love to. I don't know what it would be, but we'll come up with something.
We'll figure it out.
So there are educational opportunities that popped up from that, and that's really
I have an idea based on what you're saying. So you might, next year we set up, we might have an area that's like an educational booth area where you have chairs and then you have like a little stage. And then different groups come in during that time where they do a presentation on a topic. So like you know, 10 to 11, it might be CAMA, 11 to 12 might be rain guard. So the people will sit there and see a presentation.
So I thought of the same thing, but I think we should do 10-minute workshops
Or
on
whatever,
our stage
whatever.
with,
Yeah.
are we going to discuss for 2023? Ideas for 2023 today?
I think we need to put those together in a list and give those to Chad.
Okay.
We'll spend all day.
Gentlemen, I
here.
got to leave at 10 till
Okay.
11, so I'm just letting you know.
The other thing that came up, there were a number of people I talked to who's really had a strong environmental background and experience, but had no interest in being on the committee. They didn't have the time for that. So I think these people would be willing to serve as volunteers for any projects that we want to do. So if we could create a volunteer group of people that we could call upon to help us with things we want to do.
And so as a committee, right, they could meet with the 3-person committee.
Right.
And so we'd have 4 people.
Well, they're not appointed by the
Right. So
board.
there's 4 people, so that's okay then.
Yeah,
Right,
they're
okay.
not appointed
an outside.
members, so they don't count
Okay, good.
against the quota.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good.
But I thought that was a really good thing. I've got a couple names of people, and I'm sure everybody else can think of people that might do that as well. One final item that came to mind is, and Chad, this is really an off-the-wall idea, but could we have some ERC meetings that are public, have a public meetings portion where we would invite the community to come in and talk about recycling? Or we invite them to come in and get an update about climate change events?
You're more talking like a open house type setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the RCCP did?
Yes.
hmm
Because there were people that came in and you'd say, all right, tell me about what you know about climate change. And they know a little bit, but they're not current on information. Or recycling. Last year at Sunset, you and I were at the booth, and I'm sure you had the same experience I had. There's a lot of misinformation about recycling.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
And education is a big part of our mandate.
Right.
So, and rather than maybe taking the program to the HOAs, not everybody's going to be willing to let us do that.
Yeah, they would need to be called as special meetings.
That would
It'd
be a special meeting.
Yep, because it would be outside of your once monthly.
Okay.
Does that have to be approved by council?
No. You just
So
have
it
to
would
go
be done at a separate date.
Yeah, you would need
Okay.
to do it. Unless you're just wanting to turn one of your ERC meetings into more of an open house style. But, it would be, I think it'd be easier just to do once, maybe 2 a year or something like that, where you open yourselves up to do a special meeting. It's like, hey, we're going to have an open house and advertised in public on the door and go from there. I think that would be a whole lot easier.
Well, now that we've picked up the resiliency climate change committee activities, I think after we get our new members on board and we get ourselves organized and everybody up to speed, I'd like to have a special meeting on the climate, give people a chance to come in. I don't know how many people would do that, but we can publicize it. I know recently on Facebook, on a number of the groups I belong to, I've tried to post notices about the hazardous waste events at the landfill and other things. And then at the end of it, I just kind of write courtesy of the Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee. I don't get a lot of hits. I don't get a lot of comments about it.
Well,
But at least the word is there. Somebody has to look at it to go buy it or delete it. But I do think the more we do that, the more information we put out into the public, the more we'll get. I'm amazed. I'm being recognized in public now.
You're famous.
As an environmental person.
Now, here's another thought. It might be of some use to have the Brunswick Beacon do an advanced story, a big advanced story on this. I'm pretty good friends with the editor up there, and I managed to get them to come down and do a feature on my wife's labyrinth stuff at Seaside.
So what are you saying they would do an advanced story
An
on?
advanced story of some length about talking about what we do really, and I think they could.
A story on the ERC itself.
Well, sort of, yes, and that's the fact we've got an event coming up in a week or two. Just a thought.
Well, it was disappointing, and I guess it was a matter of timing, but there wasn't anything in the Beacon about the Earth Day of
Yes, there was, because I had somebody saw it because I asked them how they found out it's in the Beacon. It was a short, what they call brief in the Beacon.
I mean, there was a photographer here taking pictures, and none of the pictures were used. And
didn't make the cut.
well, I think we missed the deadline.
Well, they could have done it the week after that. My ex-wife used to work for
Don,
me.
maybe something you could work on would
Yeah,
be finding out what kind of advance notice they need and what do we need to give them.
Yeah, they need. Let's see, gosh.
Well, we probably don't know today, but that would help us for the future as we're planning these things.
I know well.
Well, if you look at the other thing too, outside of that, you really need to look at keeping their social media up to date because there's a lot of people in all these communities.
Oh yeah.
That on Facebook and what's the neighborhood app?
Yeah.
I see it kind of
Next door.
next door. A lot more people on there are socializing.
Sure.
Not that the Brunswick Beacon is not a great thing. I think
They're just one. The Beacon's just one resource.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think you should have a social media strategy.
Sure,
Really.
But
absolutely.
then you would need a photographer from someone on our committee or a volunteer,
Yeah.
a ERC volunteer, actually take the photos, write the article, and submit. I just call it an article. I know what it is on this, right?
These phones take such great pictures.
Well,
So
maybe that's
need
where
to
we.
get camera. I mean, we can't just throw it out there. We would like to have this. We need to.
But maybe that's where we find a volunteer.
Yeah.
But we've
And
already
I
created.
know.
We already have a Facebook page for the event. We can enhance the existing Facebook environment and then promote it to all the people on Facebook and then the neighborhood app. And I think people will know about it well in advance and all this stuff we are trying to provide with like education on environment.
Yeah, I think we do need to
think,
keep
you
our
know,
name out there.
my opinion too about the area is like people come here and they vacation here and live here, but they just kind of live in a closet as far as understanding environmental issues and how it could impact the area. And then, like I mentioned, red tide in Florida's killed all the fish and everything in the water. We don't have red tide here, thank God. But I'm just saying, what can people do? Like when they're out here in their yard. I have a mosquito authority, but it's all organic stuff. Maybe it's not. I don't know if it is or not.
I don't know. Check the chemicals.
But my point is, people make decisions on treating and doing things, and they might be killing off, with weed killer, things in the waterway. I don't know.
Right.
I'm just saying.
So if we do those workshops, that would be something. What kind of IPM pest management you would use?
Right.
But instead of doing it only 1 year for a selected group of environmentalists, to do it at one of these special meetings that you were talking about, maybe that's something we could discuss also.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I think we've got a great number of ideas, and hopefully we can capture a lot of these.
I'm like on page 60. No, I'm joking.
I'm sure Steve will capture every one of these in
Right.
a minute meeting. And we should put our thoughts together to give to Chad, and we'll consolidate them. Unless somebody has something else on Earth Day, Arbor Day, we'll move on to Sunset at Sunset. It's on October 1st this year. It's a Saturday. Chad, did you want to
Yes.
discuss that?
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, Rich, or not Rich, dang it, I'm doing it again. Steve, I know you said you had to leave in about, 3 minutes?
Yeah.
All right. So,
I can watch it on video.
okay, if that's what I was going to discuss, if you wanted to finish watching it on video and then do the minutes that way, if that's okay. So Sunset at Sunset, I've kind of scribbled down some notes here thinking about this. It's on October 1st. It just got that confirmed by Lisa. It's correct what John said, even though John was more prepared with the date than I was. I would say this, and this is something to think about. By our August meeting, I would say we need to have our assignments finalized on what our roles are going to be for the Sunset at Sunset as a board. It's an all-day event. We can split it up. John, do you know the time of what that runs through? Do you remember?
No.
I can
I
check.
think it starts around 10
Yeah,
and it goes until,
it's a 10 to 8, 10 to 6, something like that.
yeah,
event.
Yeah, I don't think it goes till 8.
Yeah.
I think I was only there till 4.
Yeah, I know it's
But
more of an
that's
all-day
because it
deal.
was pretty much, we didn't have any traffic.
It will be in the park this year. I think that is official.
Oh, really?
So
Won't be
is
by
it-
the planetarium?
We're not.
So someone said they're limiting it to only 100 vendor or 100.
I'm not sure. I can find
So
all
are
that
we?
out.
Do we have a spot yet?
We will. Yeah.
Okay.
Will we be in with the town again?
Yeah, we'll be in with the town again. So again, we'll make sure that we're represented. And this way, finalizing it by August will get me to, by the September meeting, to order any necessary materials or get anything printed off or updated. Kind of where we're at with budget. For the Earth Day Arbor Day event, we spent $395 on trees and seedlings, $610.65 on reusable grocery bags, $69.90 on reusable produce bags, and roughly about $200 out of the contingency. That a lot went to the banner that we will use every year. So that was a kind of a once every 2 to 3 year spend, and then we'll just have to pay for her to print off the due dates that we can tape onto the banner. So we have spent $1,275.55 of a $2,500 amount budget. So we have $1,224.45. So 51.02% of our budget left. I know we're going to have to reorder bags.
How about just a general banner too that's for ERC, so it's not Earth Day specific or whatever, but when we're at the, like Sunset at Sunset, there's nothing that identifies.
That could be something we talk about as well,
Yeah.
because again, I don't.
Yeah, the bags, some of the bags you picked were great, and maybe we can give some away at Sunset at Sunset.
So is that a different budget? Do we have a budget for Sunset at Sunset?
It'll come out of this one.
Okay,
And
so
we
this
can-
is an excess from this
Yeah,
event that
and that's
we
why
would spend in the next 3 or 4
Yeah,
months.
so next year, at some point we would go after this budget year, we'll go back to the council and ask for another $2,500.
So with this excess, we couldn't put in 3 dogwoods or something at the park with.
We could. I think the focus needs to be initially getting reasonable bags, whether we use
For Sunset at Sunset.
Sunset at Sunset.
Okay. All right. See, Steve.
Whether or
Thank you,
look,
Steve.
or we look into
Steve, is that your phone?
Yeah. So, yeah.
or we look into having our own branded reusable bag and see and kind of getting cost numbers of what that looks like.
Okay.
So that would be my spiel. I think that gives you, let's see, we're in May, so June, July, so 2 months roughly, to almost 2.5 months, 3 months to figure out what our roles would be, what your roles would be for Sunset at Sunset, and volunteering hours and shifts and coverage and all that stuff as we move forward.
And it's a one table.
Yeah, it'll probably be
It's a one table.
one
and
table.
We,
Now we could have-
shared a table last time.
Yeah.
Okay, and we could have 2 people on and a transition person, so we can have
It
3
would
of
have
our
been
members.
hard, don't you think, John? It would have been in the space that we had last time. Of course, we were just sort of added in last time with the town.
Yeah,
but it would have been hard to have space for 2 people.
I would say you.
Also,
Or
it's
the
one
bags.
person.
I would, if we could get our own cover, we could have our own
Mhm.
area separate from what the town does and what the police do.
or more.
Because the police department, the fire department have their own.
So yeah, and
Well,
I
it
would.
was nice to be next to them, though.
So I would
Police
say
brought in a ton of
one
people.
person from this board needs to, I guess, be designated for that, to get with Lisa to figure out who you need to get in contact to solidify your spot, and figure out who you want to task that with.
Is it going to be harder since
You wanna
it's at
do
the
that?
park? There's a lot
I'll
of
do what?
space.
I don't know.
Contact
I
Lisa
don't.
or
I don't know really
It's gonna be tough.
who. I know I'll probably have to be there. I know what my role will be. I don't know where I will be. I don't think I'm really going to seek out a table per se. I'll probably just
You
sit
can
with
come
some
with
other
us.
staff and stuff like that. But I would say probably as soon as we can, probably just designate somebody. I don't think it's a lot of upfront work. I just think it is the more of a communication person. Hey, we need a booth, we need a table, we want to be near where other town staff is. What are our options with this?
and that's all through.
I would start with Lisa, and she can give you the contact for. I want to say it's
Debbie, someone.
is it, I don't know, John. It's put on by.
Well, the chairman of that is,
Chairman of.
What's his name?
It's a
You know,
I have
what's his
a
name?
I have a contact for
Karen
Sunset
Joseph is the only
Karen
one.
Joseph.
Karen.
Is it?
Karen Joseph.
Karen Joseph would be the one to start with.
Yes.
Right. I
So
think she's-
that's the only name I can think of off the top of my head that we would need to start with.
Right, well, she runs a tight ship.
Okay. So Karen Joseph would be the one you need to reach out to and start setting all that up.
I'd like to suggest Rich do
You're so
that
kind.
unless someone else has a burning desire.
Go for it.
Okay.
So if I contact her right now, first thing we need to do is we need a spot.
We just need a spot. We can figure out what the spot looks like.
Okay.
So we need a spot.
I
Or
was
two.
not at-
Preferably, like you said, by the other town.
Is
right
that-
town things.
Let's see if
I was not at last year. Had a conflict. Is that pretty well attended, or was it?
Oh yeah. It's
Oh my
very
gosh,
well
it's
attended.
huge.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
huge.
good.
Yeah, I mean they're
I took
looking
her
at.
out.
I
There
think
she is.
let the cat out of the bag too much, but I think they're, because it's at the park, shutting down from the cul-de-sac back the road down.
Oh, okay.
We're already working on that preliminary. So
Where's
Which
it going to park?
brings me
Great
to
question.
another unrelated topic. Anybody have a guesstimation how many people attended our event? Any idea? I don't. I'm
I
clueless.
don't. I mean, it was a good turnout. I mean, the one thing I was surprised for was it's kind of the old Kevin Costner saying, "If you build it, they'll come." It was very much like that. You put an event in the park, people will flock to it.
Anyway, I didn't mean to get you off topic.
Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of at with Sunset at Sunset right now. I think you've got a little bit of time to sit down and kind of brainstorm what we want. It could very easily look like what our booths look like for Earth Day, Arbor Day. I know I will be talking about the same stuff, flood and planning. Probably won't be as boring as I did with my visual aids behind me or in front of me because I just had a table and a chair. So other than that, that's kind of where I'm at with Sunset at Sunset.
Okay. I think we ought to wait till we get our new members on board to really talk about how we're going to get everybody involved.
One of our subcommittees, maybe.
Yeah.
I will say this. I mean, you're looking at the June meeting, educating, bringing a lot up to speed with our 2 new members, and then July, and then August is here when we are needing everything kind of finalized. So go ahead and start thinking about, where we're at, and then educating the 2 new members very quickly on where we're at, where they like to kind of fit in and get their feet kind of boots hitting the ground type thing.
Okay. Any other discussion on Sunset at Sunset?
Yeah. So it's fall, and if we have the money to buy not just the bags, but to the ceilings, I kept some ceilings alive from those that I brought back. But if we had some gallon size made of perennials to hand out, maybe $2 a piece or so, 50 or 100 of those.
Yeah, I mean, if it's pleasure of the board and we have the money to do it. I mean, handouts, that type thing. Think about that, what we could benefit that.
That's also, think how large those are. Even 50 of them.
Would take up some room behind us.
And you have to watch them, that people aren't walking off with them.
Have you been to that before?
Yeah, shoulder to shoulder is terrible.
I mean, it's
well, if it's going to be in the town park, it's going to be a whole
Exactly.
totally different. Plus, you got to haul those in there.
But I think there should be room behind us, more so than where you're back to back. I don't know how they're going to.
You have to ask. I guess if you talk to
I've never attended,
to Karen,
so this will be hopefully my first event.
If you talk to Karen, you can ask her how it'll be set up. And
yeah,
there's much space there.
With Sunset at Sunset, they have the vendors right up to the boardwalk. Whatever. Take them back 10 feet.
Yeah.
Let people walk in grass. I guess that's not always easy, but so that's that's a consideration. And as far as walking off with them, I think that's what we want them to do, right? We would give them out to.
I would think you'd want people to walk off one at a time with them, and not come and grab
that's
5
a good
of
point.
them.
So if we were to give out 10 per hour, let's say.
Yeah.
Or if it's
I don't know. You know what? If you had something like 50 of them, you'd probably give them all away in the first hour.
Yeah. So we would put the
maybe a 4 inch. Maybe a 4 inch.
What kind of trees will they be?
I would say shrubs. Not everyone. My neighbor said, "Well, I don't have room for any more trees." Like you either, right? So I think the shrubs.
Okay. Well, it's something
something I'd look at
for consideration.
Right. So for that budget, and for it's something else for Sunset, but so.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Next item is the RCCP update.
And John, I do have an update on your potential update. So if you want to start.
Well, I would like to say to everybody, and we've exchanged a lot of communication about this, but the town has decided that the Resilience Community Action Team, that the ERC will replace the planning board in that group. And in addition to the ERC, John Corbett will be the liaison with the council, and Pete Larkin will continue his participation from the Phase 1 and Phase 2 activities. There's a lot of information I've already sent to you folks, and I think maybe the next thing to do would be to meet with some of the subcommittees. I can meet with the subcommittees and we can go over details. We can talk about it. I can answer questions, kind of bring you up to speed on where we got to at the end of phase 2.
Don't you think it'll be difficult to do it with subcommittees? Because then we're going to be over our quorum,
No,
right?
No,
No,
with
we
7
are-
people, you're allowed to have 3
we
now.
are a group of
But-
7 now.
But if your subcommittee is 3 people,
So
and
4
you're
would be
there,
a
4
quorum.
would be the quorum.
4 would be a quorum.
I think
But I'm talking about the current subcommittees. I mean, I'd be willing to meet with,
I guess, John, I feel like I'm really interested in this, and I'm looking at the materials you send, but it's beyond me what we're expected to be doing, and even what phase 2 is. So I think for all of us, we just need, and maybe we have to do it as a special meeting, but we need something to better understand
bingo.
the whole project.
That's my.
well, okay,
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing this for a while, so
I
so
can
you
do
got it,
this. I can do this with groups of 2,
Mhm.
or we can have this as a major topic on our next meeting.
I think that
I-
needs to happen. I think that would be helpful.
That would be the best
And
thing.
I asked Lisa this morning, what does this RCCP and the ERC look like? A lot of this, right now, probably stealing a little bit of what John was going to say, is that after phase 2, there was a group of projects. There was about 10 total projects or 12 of them, John.
11.
It was 11. So 11 projects that were come up, nature-based, and what's the infrastructure-based, and then a hybrid of infrastructure and nature-based.
Right.
So that came out of phase 2 along with a document called, they did a risk vulnerability study for Sunset Beach. And so after phase 2, we had that. So that allowed us to move into phase 3 of this. And phase 3 is to seek out a grant. There's grant opportunities by the state for this, for towns and counties that came into this resiliency program, to move forward with their projects and looking at getting the engineering costs. So this is a grant that we would get to cover the engineering costs and for particular projects. Each town could submit up to 2, and I think up to $45,000 for each project if they were selected. Phase 4 would be funding for that particular project and put it in the works, to fund it, to make it happen. We are in phase 3. We have met with Pete Larkin, John Corbett, John Farrell, me, Dustin Graham, our public works director, Lisa Anglin, our staff administrator, town administrator, and come up with submitting 2 projects out of those, and they've worked toward that. Out of those, I got an update on this morning that we had a meeting yesterday because one of them, what we found out the engineer did some research and was not going to score well. And then we went back, it was not going to score well enough to potentially be funded.
Score well.
So,
Okay.
So now we came up with an idea for another project to submit for, because we want to submit 2. And John, this is an update for you as well, because you were in on that meeting, is that the project we even looked at yesterday for more of a stormwater solution to further help the town was not deemed coastal, because the ponds are not, even though they filter into the intercoastal, they're not considered coastal. So we're looking at the stormwater ponds and the fingers along Mill Slough and on this side of the intercoastal. Again, it would not score well enough. So right now we're trying to brainstorm as staff to what could work, but ultimately, could we just put the best eggs that we have in one basket and go from there?
That's interesting because we're a Kama County.
Correct.
But anyway.
And that's what I told Lisa. I was like, this makes no sense because they filter into the intercoastal. So that's what she said. And I asked her, hey, what is your thoughts on how does this look like? Ultimately, there might not be a lot of meetings where it will involve Pete Larkin and John Corbett coming in here and sitting with us. It might happen eventually, But right now, most of the stuff that we've had discussions on, as far as liaisons and meetings with staff on moving this, is in the hands of the engineers, and going through that, researching, figuring out what this works, writing the grant, being very competitive for at least one of them, and moving forward. So right now, I would say until staff, me and my staff directs y'all to as we move forward with part of our meeting being meeting with Pete Larkin and John Corbett. I think we need to just focus on the kind of the task at hand in front of us, sunset at sunset, our Earth Day, Arbor Day. But I am in agreement with Candace. I think it would help John if we put this on a major discussion point.
Okay.
Not only, and we'll have 2 new members to where we can bring everybody up to speed on more of what I just, because it's a lot. I mean, I get John's emails, and I'm sure he wonders what, sends me text messaging, phone calls, and it is a lot. There's a lot of information out there. It's a lot. It is overwhelming at times. I've definitely gotten overwhelmed in the past year with it, from the beginning of it to the feasibility study to the projects and to where we're at now. There's good hands in this, especially it's more of me taking a back seat to this now. It's more bringing in Lisa, who is more of a staff liaison with the council, and Dustin Graham, who really sees this on a day in, day out, because he is our public works director, and what would work for the town, especially on a resiliency side of it with the town of Sunset Beach. A lot of that comes down to making sure when we do get hit, it doesn't hurt as much, type thing. So yeah, I do think, John, that would be a great idea, putting this as a major bullet.
Big time.
Okay. Well, that's good. Some people have made comments to me expecting possibly that the resiliency would take over as the primary focus for the ERC. And I don't think it that way at all.
No, I think it would be one of those things where you would know in advance to know if, like, part of our meeting this month is going to be spent with Pete Larkin and John Corbett, as and you won't be just going in blind with this. Staff will help y'all with the direction and move forward your task at hands and what will be required of everybody on this as well.
Okay, so stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 are done?
Stage 1 and 2 are done. We're in phase 3. And a lot of it's in the hands of the engineers who is working through our projects, writing the grant for us.
Okay.
It's more of a...
Moffitt and Nickel that are doing
No,
that?
it's...
So what would you need? So all of that's taken care of?
All that's taken care of.
What would you need from this group then?
Nothing as of right now. Ask us further support, for filtering those support.
So it would be community outreach? Would it be...
Right now, I think it's an education element
to us.
to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree completely with Chad. Phase 3 is really being done by the core group from the old.
Professionals.
Yeah.
No, it's from the old.
It's not Moffitt Nickel. We have a staff.
No, it's McGill.
With the dredging. I hate using that word because it's it's ugly, and all the stuff that with the parking lot, we've contracted out with McGill, and they're local. They're going to be the engineering that works to move this forward, and the grant is to fund the work that the engineers do with the grant writing and putting forth this.
Okay.
Phase 4 will be the grant that pays for the work that the engineers draw up, put on plans, and put it from paper to on the ground.
But there's a part of this that I think we have to keep our eye on closely, and that is there's a long list of projects that have been identified as risks and vulnerabilities and priorities. And that really formulates what's called the resilience strategy for the town. As an advisory committee, I'm thinking that the thing we can add value to is to take all these projects and put it into a resilience strategy to advise the council about. We can make priorities. We can get educated ourselves about the best ways to do things. And sort of manage the resilience strategy to keep the town focused on the top priorities of what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And it's not going to fall on us individually because everybody else is real interested in this too.
What I would do in the meantime, as we continue to work through this agenda today, is take away this. You nominated and put John in a chair, and I commend him for the work that he's done. He's very passionate about this. Filter your ideas and questions through John. He'll make sure your voices and staff will make sure that your comments are heard and ideas. And if you have any questions, come see me. Reach out to John. Come see me. Lisa and I will figure out how to sit down and talk with you to get you all the information you need. I do have a copy of the feasibility study if you want to read through that, and kind of go from there. So, and I would say, after next month, again, that's when your ideas are, continue to filter them into John.
But I do think resiliency is like a subcommittee activity with recycling and with the environmental things. So we don't want to give up on all the work we've done and everything else.
I think it can be. I think part of it, just have the thought of, would we be doing this a disservice to just do a subcommittee, or we would want to keep this on a regular agenda for a long portion of our meeting next month, but in the months after that, keep it on a agenda item point to where we get feedback from everybody. And I think halfway understanding it, going through the resiliency is understanding it. That's been the biggest uphill climb for me, and I still don't understand all of it. And just keeping more of everybody because I think you have there's a lot of great ideas on this board, and making sure that everybody's input stays, because I think I can see the passion through everybody else that has not been the biggest part of this so far. It's got ideas, they want to know more about it, it's going to turn their heads, and because it directly puts infrastructure, nature-based projects that's going to implement the community in a big way. So I think with this board, the subcommittee would kind of prevent us from breaking out, but at the same time, this could be something that's ever going, that you can always send your comments directly into me, and I can make sure they get to John, as far as keeping a dialogue going type thing.
The idea I had for a subcommittee, Chad, was to keep abreast of what's going on in the resilience world.
Yeah.
Every day,
Mm-hmm.
there's something new out there about sea level rise, about, the last storm that came through, all of the flooding that took place up on the Outer Banks and the houses that got washed into the ocean, the things that are going on in India right now with the extraordinarily high heat and the impact that's having on people, the coastal migration that's taking place down in Louisiana with people having to move out of the lowlands because of the loss of marshland.
Well, that land's been is real low. I've been down there, so it's just real low.
Yeah, so I mean, there's all kinds of things that we need to sort of filter through and think, how will that affect Sunset Beach? I sent a request to the DCM. The last 60 years, sea level rise at Sunset Beach has been about 1/2 foot. And we've gained, 400 feet of sand dunes from accretion. The next 30 years are forecast to, sea level rise is forecast to be 1 foot.
Well, and look at our neighbors at Sunset Beach. Have lost a lot of their east end of the beach over the years.
But, will Sunset Beach continue to experience accretion at an accelerated rate, or will it become erosion? The DEQ doesn't know. They're not willing to guess about that. Chad, following up our meeting, was it yesterday? I called Tracy Scrable at the Coastal Federation, and I left her a message, and I asked her, how can we protect the shoreline when we have these extended marsh areas? And so I hope they come back with some ideas.
Okay.
But that might give us some other things that we can make into projects.
Okay.
But
I think maybe we'll have a better understanding of how we see our participation after we have the
right.
meeting,
Well,
our next meeting, when we have a better understanding.
yeah,
And I don't. Can we get a list of what these? What'd you say? There's 12 projects or
yeah.
something, just
it's
so we
in-
have an idea of what.
it's in the information you've been sent.
I probably didn't keep it,
Page
John.
48.
I read through
Page
it.
48. Page 48.
I can remember reading through it, but I don't think
Oh,
I kept
Janice.
I don't think
Okay.
I kept the files.
There's a. All right, I'll
Is it
resend it.
Is it on the website? Is it on the town website?
I don't think
No.
so. I can get it to you.
I'll send it to you. It's an Excel spreadsheet.
I don't know that I can do anything with that.
You just want those 12 items anyway, right? But I think the town is probably only looking at a couple of those.
Well,
Right. But John's saying he thinks we should stay focused on these because they've been identified as a part of resiliency for Sunset Beach, even if they're not the top things to get funded by the state, that they're
Oh, okay,
important.
yeah.
So I'd kind of like to see what they are and be a little bit better prepared for next month's meeting.
all right, we'll have to resend that.
Okay.
Right.
So who does
Well,
this? Sorry.
We'll go into a lot more detail next month.
Yeah, that'd be great. Perfect.
That's it. We'll discuss it next month.
Okay. I think the next item is sponsorship projects.
How about the new grant opportunity?
Yeah, John, do we know any more about that grant opportunity more than what you
What we talked about yesterday.
know for the parking lot?
Oh, when you said grant opportunity, I thought you were talking about the phase 3.
We'll table that. I'll bring it back to us next month.
Okay. What you're talking about is the Majestic Oaks.
Maybe, no, I don't think so. I think it was for this parking lot. I don't know. I'll bring it back to us next month and see where we're at.
I wasn't aware there was a grant opportunity.
Remember with the electronic charging stations.
EVs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm not prepared to talk about it. That's why,
Okay.
yeah. So I will send that out and get everybody's feedback. If it's something that ultimately we think it's worth going after and the deadline is passed.
Well, there isn't any deadline.
Okay.
There is a grant opportunity with North Carolina to do electric vehicle charging stations.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And but the thing that's it kind of makes me think it's a low probability is that it's a rebate program. You've got to engineer it, you've got to build it, you've got to buy the equipment, you've got to spend all the money on it,
Okay.
and then you apply for a rebate of your cost.
Okay. All right.
It's a level 2 station. It's not a fast charging station.
Okay.
There is a level 2 station out on the island by Sunset Properties. I don't know how frequently it's used. To put one at the parking lot here, I think it would be useful for town vehicles if the town were to buy electric vehicles.
Okay.
But to recharge a vehicle, you've got to spend hours hooked up to it.
All right.
And, where is anybody going to go and what are they going to do while they're recharging their vehicle in our parking lot?
When I was still working for Novant at the Carolina Shores office, they had 2 charging stations there. um, for the most part, never used.
Hmm.
And the one that was used was by one of the physicians who had an electric vehicle, and she was going to be there half a day so she could plug in.
It's interesting you mentioned that there used to be, or maybe still are, 2 or 3 charging stations at the hospital that I know at the time I volunteered. I never saw them used.
Yeah,
Now that's been several years ago. Now there's a charging station at the Mulberry Park in Shalode that might get used some because you can walk to a lot of different places. Anyway, that's kind
You're
of
right. That's hard. It's hard to figure the timing on that.
Well, the grant opportunity is if the town wanted to put in charging stations, they could get reimbursed for that expense.
Okay.
As long as the money was still available in the program, and as long as it was submitted by the end of the year.
Okay.
So there is a deadline, and it's the end of the year.
Okay.
What was the budget number though? It wasn't like $6,000.
Oh, it was $1 million.
Oh, it is.
Yes, for the state.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I think you're right. It was something like you could get $5,000 or 80% of the cost, whichever was lesser.
Oh, it's full reimbursement. There's no matching requirement.
Well, I misread it.
I'll take that information and relay it back to Lisa.
And it's all in the messages I've sent you.
All right.
But and I've talked to Mike about it too, Mike Hargraves, so he's aware of it.
Okay.
But I can't. If the town wanted to do it, I think putting a station down by the park where people could spend time, or putting it somewhere else where it was in a place where people could do other things while their vehicle's charging.
Okay.
They have fast charging stations that cost an enormous amount of money, but that's not reimbursed under this program. And I'm finding out also that in the infrastructure of charging across the country, after a station is installed, maybe half of them break down and aren't fixed. There's no maintenance program. If the town were to put in charging stations and something happened to them, there's no grant to fix them or to rehabilitate them. So there is a potential future expense of maintenance on it.
All right.
And then the money you save from fuel and tune-ups and everything else on a EV could possibly pay for that staff, full-time staff for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I didn't recognize that grant opportunity as the
That's my fault.
No, it's all right.
And then sponsorships.
Sponsorship.
Sponsorships. Okay. So first from Mr. Nicky Nance, BEMC, said they have many programs that let me click on the website. Many programs that for a community grant. This year's deadline is over, but set a reminder for early next year. And early next year is, I think, January and February.
What community grants do they?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm not getting any reception in here either. So, but I think it went up to only $2,500 or so for BEMC, and then from
Is it for energy conservation?
any project, any environmental project. They do have a list, arts and culture. Again, I can't get it. I had it up earlier, but my phone isn't working with that. The reception isn't working.
Okay.
But yeah, she said, and this is during the, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time passing out bags. I hope you didn't think I was sloughing duties, but I went and chatted with all the vendors just to welcome them, let them know we appreciate it. And also to see what kind of, if we can get help, like John was saying, volunteers, if we can get help from other local organizations, local countywide organizations to promote our programs. So Sherry, the girl I talked with from BEMC, said our Earth Day event, Earth Day Arbor Day event would qualify for sponsorship. That's just because it's first thing. Any kind of purchases we would want to make. I don't think she didn't have a limit, but on their website, from what I remember, there's a $2,500 or $5,000 sponsorship grant. And then the other from Keep Brunswick County Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mickey wrote that 18 texts ago. She said that she congratulated us on the Earth Day event. The grants come from Keep America Beautiful, so she would have to write, like you guys, right? The Keep Brunswick County Beautiful would have to write the grant, receive the award. They would have to work with us to begin the project, but then turn the cash over, money and the project over to us. And she says, does that make sense? I think so. But she said, let me finish here. She said, before we do any heavy planning, she needs to reach out to Keep America Beautiful to make sure that what we want to do meets their requirements, receive funds. So
What kind of things would their grants?
she would ask that we have an idea of what we want to do and let her know as soon as possible.
I'm on the advisory board.
Right.
I spoke with her a couple of weeks ago. That she was very pleased with,
Yeah,
and answered a lot of questions about recycling and
yeah, it's good to have her.
trash and
Yeah.
stuff. So I could work with her if you let me call her if it's okay with the board soon and see what's
But I
involved.
think we need to decide, not maybe today or maybe some other time, what we would like that she didn't have a deadline for the grant.
But did she suggest like what kinds of things their grants a grant from them could cover? Like what's considered Keep Brunswick County Beautiful? Would it
She
cover
did.
the tree plantings or,
You would think that, yeah.
yeah, or buying seedlings or maybe buying the little container, a
Yeah, a little
bigger
larger.
container?
So something for that, for sponsorship for our Sunset at Sunset. But again, I think probably as a board, we would need to discuss some,
Yeah.
maybe next meeting.
Can you
Unless-
can you get something from these groups that tells you the requirements of
I do.
asking for a grant?
I came from BEMC, but I think I sent you this text. But she's not quite sure how the funding comes from Keep America Beautiful.
Well, Don can.
I'll
Can
be
you
back.
get that?
I'm on the board. I'll call her pretty
Okay.
soon and see what's up.
Yeah, we need the
But
details.
I do have BEMC's information if I can get to it.
Good.
That I can send you. Okay. So that's, yeah. So
Those
out of
are the
the
two
four people I talked with, those are two who said. And I
Well,
did-
that's good.
And then the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees, it would be great because she gives out,
Yeah.
I think she said 17,000 trees last year,
And
14.
big trees, they do
So
big
I'm
trees.
thinking, heck, we can get 100 trees. She said, so I asked if they do a grant or sponsor. She said they are grant seeking 501 3C also. So they really can't do that, but she can promote and deliver some trees for special events. So, so that's something I have a note here. I'll contact her for later too. She said, but they may be able to help.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I think, is there anything else? That finishes our agenda. The next item of public comments. We have no public presence. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.
Good meeting. Very
Thank
good
you,
meeting.
folks.
Oh,